Today is Wednesday, November 15th, 2023. Welcome to the Survivor Fans Podcast. I'm Joanne.
And I'm Stacy.
And this is our recap of Survivor 45, Week 8.
This episode was titled Following a Dead Horse to Water, keeping along with this pattern of goofing the phrases up a little bit.
And that was said by Bruce.
Bruce, very early on. Previously on Survivor, Bruce finds a hidden immunity idol. Katurah learns that Bruce found a hidden immunity idol. Two are going. Jake wants to set his own direction, be his own man. Drew wants Bruce gone. Kelly's fine with Bruce being gone, so Sifu and Caleb get voted out. And then Jake tells Julie, hey, that was me, I voted for you. Back at Dakuwaqa, night 14, Drew says he felt just a little tinge in his cold, dark heart for Sifu going.
Yep.
And he's happy that Emily was right in lockstep, proved herself once again. And unfortunately, they gave Bruce a symbolic victory with Caleb's outing. And then the second group gets back from tribal.
Well, it is kind of sad that the one person, Sifu, as it ended up being, didn't make it on the jury, since that was part of his dream. And everybody knows that. They know how they would feel.
Part of everybody's dream, sure.
I know that. Well, actually, I don't know that. I don't know that everybody really wants to make it that far.
I think the ones that were left in the game, yeah.
Yes,
I'm not saying of this entire cast, because this cast had some impressive duds in the scale of bad players.
Yeah, at least early on. So,
yeah.
Anyway, I found it sad too. So, all right, they come back on night 14 after tribal council.
Jake is acknowledging that he played reckless. He made a ridiculous choice. It was not in his best interest.
And he should not have voted for Julie.
And this is where we get the title from Bruce. And he's chastising Jake, telling him that he did not play smart. Jake says, in his defense, he was trying to better his position. He wanted to make an effort.
Well, you know, he admitted everything to Julie, which didn't matter whether he admitted it or not. Mm-hmm. But I think what bothered Julie the most was that she believed everything.
Yeah, she commented and said, he's a scary liar.
Yes.
He was very good at lying. And that's her line right there. Line drawn. She's done with Jake.
She can never trust him again, and she can never trust herself to trust him again is what it really boils down to.
Unfortunately, the game doesn't work that way. You need to be ready to deal with and work with liars and people that mislead you and work against your interests.
But that's different. That's different. She cannot trust him and choose to work with him through certain votes.
Maybe.
That doesn't mean she trusts him.
Okay.
It just means that, okay,
I took what she was saying to be,
I'm going to take this risk that she would never work with him.
Right,
But that's
which is
not
what you were
she
saying.
said.
Well, it's what you were saying.
No, it's not what she said. She said she could never trust him again. That doesn't mean necessarily. Now, for her, it might have meant that she would never work with him. But you can trust someone and know that you'll never going to do that again, and yet still work with them if you think it's in your own best interest.
Jake tried to play it off, make light of it. He said it's a fun game, isn't it, Julie?
Yeah. Yeah, no.
I liked her response. Sure, till you see your name. Wait till you see your name. She was ready for that. Yeah, and they didn't know at the time. Well, no, they might know that she was hiding she was a lawyer, so it wasn't clear there were two lawyers facing off there, right? She's an art teacher is what she used
I forgot
as her story.
I actually forgot she was a lawyer for a while. I was thinking just Katurah and Jake, but she is too.
Yep.
Okay, waking up, day 15. The girls find, ooh, we're all together here.
Look at this. We got a 6-4 majority. If only
Majority.
we could work an alliance.
And then Kendra thinks those guys are out there worrying about.
Those guys are probably,
those
what do you
girls
think they're
having a
thinking?
majority.
They're plotting against, and there's a classic internet meme of this exact thing where it's like the wife or the girlfriend. It shows, have you seen it? It's an overhead shot of a couple in bed. And she's like looking away, and her thought bubble is, oh, he's probably thinking of other women. And then it cuts over to him, and he's about the same as the guys. What'd you think about those tacos? Those were great tacos, weren't they? The guys, that was an awesome stick I found today. So always
Awesome stick.
hadn't you ever found a great stick? That's another internet meme, but it's a meme because it's based on truth. Some sticks are better than other sticks.
No.
Some sticks are
I
more
don't
sword-like
believe I
or
have.
staff-like or anyway.
No, I can
Moving on.
honestly say I've never thought that.
Okay, exactly. And so even though Kendra suspected the guys were down there plotting against them because they were plotting against the guys, that was not the case. They were having Jake recount the different types of tacos.
Remember them tacos we ate yesterday?
Yeah.
Okay, and here comes a boat to camp, which obviously going to mean something.
Yep, and they deliver a table, and the table has baskets attached to it.
Yes.
And then they set up names along each basket, and they give them the information to read. They give Kendra the envelope, and she pulls it out and pauses and doesn't say anything as she reads the whole
yeah,
thing,
she
right?
was reading it.
Got some dramatic effect
Read
there.
it out
and then
loud,
she said the
Kendra.
auction's back, and they're going to have to find the money. They won't just be given the money. So there's 40 bamboo tubes of cash that have been distributed around their camp, and they're only allowed to retrieve them one at a time, bring them back.
I like that.
Drop it into their own individual baskets, and then they're free to go out and retrieve another.
They got to work for it. And, the younger people or the more physically fit people do have an advantage. That's true. But then there's people like Bruce. Bruce is capable of doing. He just wasn't that concerned about it.
Well, there was kind of
seemed like.
everyone but Bruce who took a different tack. They did show Katurah walking by several when they weren't clear exactly what they looked like. But as soon as one was found and everyone could see what it looked like, they all started picking up on it. But yeah, then they cut back to Bruce, and he's been taking his time gathering up his shoes, and he tells us he's going to leverage his senior intuition, the wisdom of the ages, and he'll go out and gather his that way. And they promptly cut to a scene where he's walking by one, and Julie goes in, snakes it right out from under him.
No, it was Emily.
Well, Julie got it, and then Emily got another one that was near him.
And then they show one he missed that was right overhead. Mm-hmm. If he'd looked up, but he didn't. It was in the tree.
Dee gives him a hard time, tells him, you need to get your hustle on.
He didn't seem to have much hustle that day.
Nope, did not.
Maybe that challenge took a lot out of him.
And as they're...
Oh, they hadn't done it yet.
They're back there. No, they hadn't. But things are going a day at a time, so they're recovering from the one the day before for sure. And then we learned from Austin that there were actually different amounts of money in each of the tubes. Not only could you pull back multiples, but some of them had more money in them than others.
That's right, and you didn't know.
So let's look at how much everybody ended up with. We've got Austin's got 700. Bruce ended up with a measly 80. I think he had one tube there that he found.
That's all they got.
Dee had a whopping 900. Julie ended up with 420. Kendra with 360. Kelly also had 700, same as Austin. Katurah had 480. Drew had 520. Jake had 340. And Emily had 500. And so Bruce Probst welcomes them into the auction and reminds everybody the last time they did it was in season 30, Worlds Apart, back in 2015. And so there were different elements, obviously, in this auction. And there's the money scramble at the beginning to find out who's going to have what amount of funds. And he says there are no advantages up here in the auction.
Get that out of your heads.
At max, there's only going to be 15 items, the first 5 of which are guaranteed. And then he's going to draw a number that says how many after the first 5, what number they'll go up
between 6 and 15.
Right. And the best twist, whoever ends with the most money loses their vote at the end. So there's an incentive to spend. You're not just going to pocket the money that you were provided for the auction and you gathered. Okay, first up, we see item number 1, beer and pretzels, and Kendra jumps right on it. And Kendra is out of money. She spent $360 on a beer and a bowl of pretzels.
I'd like the pretzels, but I don't like beer.
But you'd need something to wash the pretzels down, though, or otherwise
I'm
you
not
weren't.
saying I wouldn't drink it.
Yeah.
I just don't like the taste.
Uh-huh.
Doesn't mean I wouldn't drink it.
All right. Next up, we've got some fries with ketchup and a soda. Kelly drops 500 of her 700 on that.
Fries. That looked like a big thing of fries, too.
I would have been
Those
tempted.
calories.
Yeah, but in the past, they've had things like steak and big giant burgers and stuff like that. But interesting. Okay.
Well, but with this twist, before they didn't have to worry about, it ending all of a sudden and they lose their vote.
So yeah, that's proper motivation. If you're hungry like she was, not having been able to take advantage of a feast or a reward like some of her fellow castaways had recently done, then those fries looked really good.
That's good enough. Here, take my money.
Good to go. Number 3 was a covered item, and Emily ends up bidding $440. She wins that. She's worried that it's the bat soup that has popped up in the auction before. But instead, she gets a meat and cheese platter with some white wine and does a
lot of meat, a lot of cheese.
Weird celebration dance as part of her claiming it.
But
but
she had $60 left.
Having them go up and have to take a bite or drink or whatever, it's just to be on display as part of that always makes me feel awkward for them.
I hadn't thought about it before. I was just sitting here thinking, I wonder why she kept $60, because, it could have cost her. But I think she was betting on that there might be something toward the end that she might want, and she kept less money than what Bruce had.
Yeah, so
But which didn't mean if there'd have been another item or two that she might not have lost her vote.
Managed her risk really well.
That instead of, but I think it was probably strategic.
Don't you think Bruce considered pretty much out of the gate that he was not going to get anything at $80? There was just wasn't a play for him in that space.
It's like, oh, okay, well.
Item number 4 was a large chocolate milkshake, and Dee immediately dropped her 900 to get a chocolate fix.
Yep.
That would work. I love chocolate milkshakes. Number 5 ended up being a covered item. Katurah bid $480 on it. And Jeff did the classic Monty Hall, you can have what's behind door number two or door number 1. And she decided to stick with door number 1 or basket number 1. And he lifted the cover off, and it's 2 gigantic fish eyes. I mean, that had to be a huge fish.
They were the size
for
of
the
a
eyes
baseball.
to be that big.
Yuck.
And she declares that she is no longer hungry or has any affinity.
Well, to
I'm
give her
fueled,
credit,
I'm fine. And she goes back to her seat.
To give her credit, she put her tongue on it.
Yeah.
And kind of,
okay, I'm done.
And then went,
And
no, I'm not
Probst
eating
offered it up, and Austin bid $100 for it and won, and promptly jumped up and grossed everyone out with a nice big crunchy bite of a gigantic fisheye.
Yeah, I bet he regrets that.
He said it tasted like something. What did he say? Sashimi or?
Oh,
anyway.
No way did that taste like sashimi.
He ends up taking it back to his seat and then sits it in the sand where the flies immediately cover it.
Yeah.
So, okay, item number 6, Drew ends up bidding on that. He gets that for $520, and it's a bowl of candy. And I did like his moxie here. He tried to negotiate for an alternative or something, and
Should always try.
Probst shut him down immediately.
Be like, no.
So Drew has spent all of his money, and he's got some candy to munch on. So he can go get a sugar high.
And then Austin, it's a good thing he saved some money, because there's a huge, big, wouldn't call that a slice. That
Probst
was
did.
half of a small pizza.
Maybe, yeah. It was a nice big one. Okay, and so he ends up getting that for the remainder of his money, the $600, and now he's out. What did you think about item number 8? Instead of food, they went to a toothbrush, toothpaste, and some mouthwash.
Well, it's not that's not great, because it would be awesome.
Very welcome.
And certainly would keep that toothbrush
Yes.
and keep that around. But, she could have used food.
Yeah. Okay, so Julie ended up getting that one. Number 9, item number 9.
Will be bought by one person but eaten by 3.
Yep, that ends up being chocolate cake, a nice big chocolate cake, classic item at the auction.
Yep.
So Jake pays for that, and he ends up inviting Julie and Bruce up.
Julie, I understand. He's trying to make it up.
Yeah.
Kiss up, anything.
And like we were
Please
just
forgive
saying,
me.
she didn't actually get
She
any
didn't
food.
get any food. Yep. So,
And then he chose Bruce.
I guess maybe he the same thing. He thought Bruce wasn't going to get anything.
It looked like he almost regretted his choice, the way he looked away in his face after he's like, okay, I'll choose Bruce.
Well, and besides, he didn't want Bruce to hate on him, and he probably would have if he hadn't chosen him.
Yeah, well, Bruce and his vendettas,
Yeah.
very likely. But Bruce didn't end up eating. I wonder if he doesn't like chocolate, because he took he dabbed his fingers in the frosting and then took little bites. Meanwhile, Jake has filled both hands with cake and is eating from one hand and then the other, because there's a timer. They've got
Well, some people don't like chocolate.
They have an hourglass worth of time to consume it in. Yeah, so.
Well, even before, when Sari and those guys were eating it, I think it was Heroes versus Villains, he only gave them like 60 seconds. It's like, geez, Jeff, come on.
This wasn't much longer than that. And then item number 10 ends up being a sandwich, but it's not the sandwich I was expecting.
No.
I really think they missed out a little bit on not having a big submarine sandwich like was at the Amulet Advantage here, since that had been such a big thing for Austin. But so it's a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, some chips, and a margarita, which Kelly snaps up.
Which none of that seems like it would go that well together to me.
Peanut butter jelly sandwich with chips, that's fine.
Butter and jelly with chips.
The margarita seems a little off with all the sweetness of the peanut butter and jelly, but typically like something savory with that. But anyway, she seemed to be quite pleased.
She was just thrilled that she
got an item
and got rid of her money.
Yeah. Emptied her pockets out, because all these are, Jeff's teasing them. Is this going to be the last one? Is this going to be the last one? And then it turns out after that, they were done.
Bruce was up next.
Bruce, with his original $80, lost his vote at the next tribal council. And Emily breathed a sigh of relief.
Yeah, I'm sure she was sitting there thinking, "Oh, I might have made a bad decision." And
Bruce acknowledged that he didn't play that exactly correctly, and made a bad choice there on his money. So it's horrible that he ends up losing his vote. But he does have that immunity idol, and he's already considering the need to play it.
Yeah. All right. So the auction is over. I think it went pretty well.
Yeah.
And they
as far
did
as the
shake
return
it
of the
up.
auction, the auction's back. People got food. They had to make choices about who to share with, which means other people didn't get shared with. And I like those kind of things. That helps people see things sometimes. And there were some gross items, or one really gross item, and then a lot of other good stuff. So I'd say on the whole, I was pretty happy with the return of the auction. It was fun. It offered some good moments.
I really
and I like the twists.
Yeah, the twists and all that was good, but I'm really a little bit disappointed they didn't offer a burger and fries, or a steak, or a plate of spaghetti, or
maybe next
something.
Time. Yeah, those have definitely been there before, along with things like a bath. Right, they've had bathtubs where you could take a bubble bath and get clean.
I just wanted to feed as many people as possible, but anyway. All right. Then next up, we get to hear Kendra's story about how she didn't know her dad wasn't her biological father until she was, and didn't meet her biological father till she was 18 years old. And so that's why the beer had an emotional connection for her.
Yeah.
With her and her father. So
I'm happy for her and that she had that. This just seemed like another one of those forced sob moments on the show I don't care much for those.
Well, my first thought was, is Kendra going home? They're telling her story.
Yeah.
Is her number up?
And Emily isn't too keen on the women's alliance. She tells us that she has always been closer to the men than she has the women. And she's not ready to give up on Drew and Austin.
Yep. Well, I'm not surprised. I kind of felt like Dee might feel that way too, that they might use the Women's Alliance to get some of the Blue Tribe out and down in numbers, and then I didn't know whether they would really split off from Austin and Drew.
Yeah, it's great cover for continued decimation of Old Bella.
Well, yeah. And since everybody wanted Bruce out, that
easy
was
peasy. So
yep.
Emily decides to stay back and talk with Drew there at the shelter, tells him she wants to reaffirm trust, got something she wants to share. The ladies are looking at a 6-4 majority and running that alliance that way. And then she tells Drew, but you're fine. For now, their primary target is Bruce and Jake before you.
But keep it quiet, which of course they're not going to.
Yeah, right. And Drew tells us in his confessional after getting that new information that he needs to flush that Bruce's idol. He needs to put something together.
Well, and that he said he didn't really believe that the alliance of 6 women would work anyway. He didn't think it would last.
Would hold up.
Yeah.
And he's right. Historically, they do not. And actually, almost the majority of them never get off the ground.
Yeah. But he was extremely happy that the girls wanted Bruce out. He's like, yeah, so do I. This works for me.
Yep.
Okay, go girls.
I liked how they managed that interaction with Katurah. So we see Katurah, Drew, Austin, and Julie talking. And Drew says, we trust you. How about you make a choice? At which point, like you were just saying, Katurah says, well, I really want to get rid of Bruce. So, and that's a possibility, although there is an immunity challenge looming.
I think the odds are they all knew that already. They'd already heard her rants about Bruce.
Well, and Drew had,
and gathered that that's what she would say. But they could earn points by letting her choose and make her feel a closer part of their group.
Absolutely. Okay, this is a 2-day cycle with this episode, so day 15 and day 16 are the primary focus, and we are now at the immunity challenge. So you're going to have to hang on to one of those ropes, and you have to progressively, the rope gets longer and longer, and they're holding a weight that's set up to be 1/3 of their pre-game body weight.
Yeah,
that
but
they're fighting.
They're not now.
And they hold with one arm, and the arm has to be straight the whole time.
And they do it in stages.
Interesting. Yeah, I like that.
What did you think about Probst offering up the bag of rice?
The negotiation, yeah. He just immediately went to 4, needs 4 sit-outs. But, and we see Dee and Emily jump in pretty quick, and then Probst ups the ante, whips out a knife, pokes a hole in the bag of rice so it starts pouring out, and they don't immediately get what's going on.
Katurah, just before he did that, Katurah was trying to barter with the people, like, okay, well, those of the people that sit out, we won't vote for them, right? Because I think she wanted to sit out and be one of them, but she wanted people to say that they wouldn't vote for any of the ones that sat out to get rice for the tribe. But nobody would say that.
Probst provided the proper motivation.
Yep.
He poked a hole in that bag and outpours the rice. So he tells them,
wait, that's our rice.
Here's enough rice to get you through the end of the game, which was quite a large bag of rice. Of course, now not so large as it starts to pour out into a basket.
That was a big knife, too.
Yeah. And Drew and Katurah go ahead and jump out and secure some rice.
Well, Drew jumped out. Katurah still hesitated until Drew started prompting, and she finally said, okay, I'll do it.
Okay, the challenge is going to proceed in 5-minute increments, and the rope has got knots tied at different intervals along its length until you get down to the last segment where there is no knot and you're just holding on to the end of the rope.
Yeah, that's a lot harder. The knot really kind of helps hold your hand there.
Right, yes. Although Julie's strategy was kind of interesting when you move on to the next stage, and so we see him go from the first stage to the second to the third, she was holding just past the knot. She wasn't going down to the next one that she was going to have to move beyond. She moved just to the other side. So she kept the rope shorter through the duration by doing that.
Okay.
Interesting choice, and seems like it paid off because she kept progressing.
Yeah, she was awesome.
We see Kelly and Kendra go out pretty close together at the fourth knot, and that left Julie, Austin, Bruce, and Jake facing off against each other. And they go down to the section where there's no knot, and Probst tells them, look, you can't wrap it around your hand, but Austin did something where he at least bent it a little. He had like an L going there. So
the way he was holding it
didn't wrap
gave
around.
it a little bit of support.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe Kelly was the first one out.
Yeah.
That surprised me.
Okay.
And I thought Kendra was doing well because she was switching arms each time, and then bam, she was the second one out.
Yep, they went out pretty close, didn't they?
But then they had to move to that final section where there was no notch on the bottom.
No knot. Yep. And Austin went to Struggle Town, and he's out. All his muscles did not help him.
Nope.
And then Jake went out. And so it's a face-off. And Probst is quick to point out that it's the two oldest people remaining in the game, Julie versus Bruce. Probst tells him, final 9 is in your hands, literally.
Wow.
And then Julie lets go and Bruce wins. And he tells us that he had the yellow color and that empowered him because that was the color that his daughter Sydney liked, I guess. So he was drawing strength from that. He saw it as symbolic, and now Bruce is guaranteed to be final 9. He will not have a vote, but he will also be immune at tonight's tribal council. And Katurah, we get a confessional from Katurah, and she recognizes, OMG, there's going to be a mad scramble.
Yep.
This did not go the way we had planned, as is often the case on Survivor when you make plans well before the immunity challenge.
They get back to camp, and Bruce just calmly says, I'll get a fire going, and we'll cook up some of that rice.
Yeah. He gets a bunch of congratulations for
because he's got no worries.
Winning. Yeah. Kendra tells us that was a horrible win. And then they cut to Bruce just laughing. He's like, yeah, I got immunity. You're not going to get me tonight.
And Emily offers up Jake. He should be next.
I liked before that. I liked where Kelly said, Bruce is my ball and chain.
Yep.
He's just going to sit there as a bystander. He doesn't have a vote, but he's immune. So he's just going to be a dud at tribal council. And we see Kendra, Emily at the well and offers up Jake, right? Isn't that what you were just saying?
They talked about it.
I think Kelly.
But then Kelly
was
and
there,
Emily asked Jake, well, if it's not you, who else? Who do you suggest? Who should we go after? And Jake didn't want to say.
He said he felt immediately like they were baiting him, since I think Emily mishandled that. Something about her delivery was a little too rough or something, and so he wasn't biting at all. And
he's like,
he just
I'm not going to play that game.
I'm going to take my foot off the gas, is what he told him.
Say anyone, Jake. As long as it's not you, maybe they'll go for it. But I thought he should have said someone.
Jake then says in a confessional, if I'm going out, I'm going to go out swinging. So he starts his idol hunt in earnest. And then they assign Katurah to go watch him.
Yeah, which did no good. He didn't find anything. But he does go back after he searches and ask Bruce about playing his idol for him.
If there's a chance that Bruce would play his idol for Jake, yep.
Bruce was pretty non-committal.
He was cagey. He said, well, let me gauge the room. Okay, thanks, buddy.
Yeah.
I hope I can return the favor. But you got to play it really, really easy, really slight with Bruce there.
It was good, Jake was over talking to Bruce because that made Drew very nervous.
Yep.
You know, when people see them talking, and because they were then afraid that Bruce would play his idol for him.
I don't know why you would, though. Why would you think that Bruce would do that? It just seems so unlikely.
The only reason,
given the Bruce that we've seen.
The only reason that I think anyone would consider that is if they were trying to win over the numbers for the rest of the game.
That ship has sailed.
Yeah, but maybe not in his mind. We don't know who he thought was still with him. So, but he didn't do it. So
Drew's looking for a backup plan, and he ends up targeting our USB Kelly. Oh, my goodness.
Yep.
And Austin chimes in. Everyone wants to work with her. And plus, you have a motivation, don't you, Austin? You want that amulet to power up.
Yep.
I liked Julie and Dee, at least at this point, so it gave us a little suspense. Julie and Dee, neither one of them wanted to really consider that. Julie said, well, I really want to take Jake out. That's really my priority. And Dee said she needed some time to think about it, too. Even Drew said, okay, I guess maybe I need to rethink this if they're not jumping right on board to vote out Kelly.
Okay, and we're off to Tribal Council on night 16.
Caleb gives a surprise face when he sees Bruce come in with the immunity necklace. He didn't expect that, did he?
No, he didn't.
Probst recaps the Rice negotiation a little bit. And Drew says, well, I was just shooting to maximize Rice.
Why do you think Jake was having so much
he needed to do
struggle
something
to articulate?
Well, he felt the pressure and he needed to do something. And I think some of this was calculated. I don't think that was all just his emotions catching him up or anything like that. Because he makes a really calculated statement, I think, a little later on.
About his loyalty, basically, right? Because he was willing to go to rocks for Caleb, but he missed.
And, well, what he starts off with is, let's not pretend. There's no altruism. You don't do this to, you're not Angelina making the ultimate sacrifice to get rice for your tribe. That's not how this works. There are always other motivations at work. There's always reasons that benefit you too by making that kind of a choice. So
you can vote those people out instead of me too.
Yeah.
But anyway, and my other thought was another reason to say that is if you think you might be saved, to make sure Caleb knows that you tried to save him, and that's a vote on the jury maybe.
The other thing, again, it probably went back to him trying to coax Bruce into taking some action on his behalf. And because he kept emphasizing, look, if I'm going, there's someone who's immediately next in line that's at the bottom of this alliance. If you guys are going to dogpile, if you're all going to vote me, then there's someone at the bottom of that group that's all voting me that's going to be next. And I think he was speaking to Bruce there.
Well, when Jeff asks, Dee says, I think this vote is unanimous, Jeff. And then Jake said, well, if it's me tonight, somebody's making a mistake. It's like, what does that mean?
Same thing. He's just saying the same thing a different way. There's one person that's at the bottom of the majority that's, if it's 8 people voting for me, one of you is making the wrong move because you're the one that follows me. So it's not in your best interest to do this. So maybe he definitely wasn't talking to Bruce at that point because Bruce had no vote. So, okay, yeah, he's talking to someone else in the alliance.
I wonder why Emily said something like, it rarely happens that all the votes are on one. It's like, well, you just put 4, or as Caleb said, 12 votes on him. He's the only one in the jury, sitting in the jury.
It's rare. I think she had a valid point. Most votes are split votes.
Well, true, yes. Or there's at least, one vote to somebody else. But
Katurah and Emily seem to be doing some kind of damage control with Jake and paying him compliments and acknowledging his effort, saying that, well, Katurah said, he's a lawyer and he's good at calling the bottom folks to rally here, the ones that might be lower down in the alliance. And then he makes that, and this is what I believe was, I don't know, we didn't talk about it while we were watching, but I think he makes a calculated choice to say or if I had an idol. He starts saying starts to say my idol, but then backs up and says an idol as a bluff, but they don't know that for sure.
No, but he's really throwing out everything he can think of to
Do you think
try
it was
to save
calculated
himself.
that he started to say my and then backed off? Like he had a plan to do that?
I
To
don't know.
correct it and make it more general?
Don't know.
Okay.
Okay, it's time to vote.
We see Jake considering playing his shot in his dart when he goes up to vote. Puts his hand in his pocket to pull that die out, but we don't see for sure, and we don't know until he gets back. And Probst calls for advantages or idols.
They wait so long, that long pause. It
Yeah,
makes
works great, doesn't it?
no, it's annoying.
And it turns out Jake did play his shot in the dark, so he's not going to have a vote. And he goes up to give the scroll to Probst, and he asks him, hey, can I have Caleb blow on it for luck? That did not happen, and Probst unveils it, and Jake is not safe. It did not work in his favor
The
this
votes
time.
will count.
Yeah. So we see 3 votes for Jake, and then votes start rolling in for Kelly. 1, 2, 3, they're tied. 4, 5, Kelly's gone.
Yep,
And
there goes our girl.
Austin told Kelly that he had voted for. She asked him, did you do it? And he shook his head, mouthed yes. Kelly is voted out. She is shocked, much like Caleb.
Yeah, I
What
was
the heck, guys?
surprised that he.
I was shocked.
Yeah, I was surprised that Austin shook his head. Yeah.
Jake yells out in celebration and then catches himself, but he can't stop smiling, even though it's certainly a sad moment for Kelly. She's so discombobulated, she forgot to go get her torch so it could get snuffed. She has to put her bag down and go back over there.
Well, she obviously was totally blindsided. Did not see that coming.
Karush.
Even though she thought about it, I don't think she really believed it would happen.
Not right then.
It just wasn't sinking in
Right.
quickly. It's like, no, that didn't just happen. No, it didn't.
Jake's so happy and surprised he can't seem to even close his mouth. And Kendra's trying for some crocodile tears. They did not show up, though, but she managed to mug for the camera a little bit. And at this point, Austin is ecstatic, absolutely thrilled with himself. He's the proud owner of 2 immunity idols, one that expires when there are 6 players left in the game, and one that expires when there are 5. At 5, at least that's the final time that they can use it, I mean. Well, what did you think about this one? It was quite the surprise. I did not see Kelly going, lost my USB, disappointed, wanted to see more from
You
her.
keep forgetting she's my USB too.
I don't think they had even ever registered because she was my USB 24. So
I
yours
see.
was such
so
a.
mine doesn't count.
Well, it's just, so far in the background, it didn't register.
I'll have choice words for you later.
Okay.
Okay. Kelly said, I should have listened to my gut. I don't know what she would have done differently.
Yeah, she didn't really have a play or a move or anything. Hey, how about that women's alliance? Worked pretty well, didn't it?
Right.
Yeah.
I know she was shocked and all that, but she turned and hugged some people.
Yeah, lots of them.
Which I know, but it kind of surprised me that she hugged Jake and Bruce, and
Yeah, I guess no hard feelings.
she
but
didn't hug Kendra.
She was in shock. Yeah, I think she hugged her first.
Oh, did she?
Yeah.
I must have missed that.
Yeah.
But anyway, I felt badly for her.
Yeah.
She just
Again, when you've got some really good players, this is how it should be. I'm sad
Yes.
that I won't get to see her play the game anymore. Just like I was sad that we weren't going to get to see Caleb do any more of his wheeling and dealing and all that social acumen that he had. So the potential, what could have been, all that. I'm sad. But, good gameplay, and I suppose I'm not sure why they didn't take Jake out. I just don't think the threat was there. And really, when you go back and look at who voted for Kelly, it was the old Reba 4. So it's Austin, Drew, Dee, Julie, and Emily.
yes.
And so Austin knew exactly what he was doing and what he was angling for there. So
Yeah, they're not
congratulations,
talking
Austin.
about it, but that was a part of it.
Oh, yeah. They just didn't.
It's like, oh no, we got to get
If they
Kelly.
emphasize that a little too much, then it probably takes some of
Yeah.
the suspense out.
Because she had to think of getting Austin so she could have the idol at some point. but
At some point, yeah.
yeah.
But that wasn't right now. She wasn't angling for that at all.
no. But in Austin's mind,
Revenge.
she was going to be after him.
Revenge of the sandwich. He succeeded. He is the victor.
Yep, he got him.
Although she did get to eat a sandwich before she left.
That's true. Now
One
she
that he
can
did not
eat
have.
what
So
all
what did
she
you think
wants.
overall? I liked the auction. It was nice how they managed the challenge. It's certainly a challenge we've seen before. Usually, though, they have to fall into the water. So they kind of took that out of it this time.
Yeah, which was kind of weird, but
Yeah, that's okay.
maybe the water was too rough today.
Falling into
or
the water
that
was
day.
never the most interesting part of that. It just
No.
added a little extra tension that you're going to, once your arm did give out and you let go, you splashed.
Well, it would have made me feel better because I'd much rather fall into the water than fall just into the hard ground.
Or the beach. It all happened on the beach. So
Still,
the sand behind you
it's
there.
more impact on your body than falling
And when the
into
big
water.
heavy pole they were holding fell, it got to crush a pelican. So, which is like one of the birds for this season, I guess.
Okay, so next on Survivor, Bruce is sitting out
Sad. Lost his
sad,
number one, he tells us.
all alone, looking out at the ocean. He's lost his closest ally, and he's scared. That's the first time he's said he was scared. He's been, that's why I voted for Bruce to go home this week. I changed it to Jake. I thought, oh no, and he's got the, and then I changed it back today thinking, Nope, he's going to be so arrogant and think he's got everybody in his pocket, and he's not going to play it, and he's going to go home. So I had that all worked out in my head, And
Yep, so Bruce is bummed. He doesn't have Kelly to help him make decisions going forward. I'm not sure how much he listened to her to begin with, but at least he thought he had an ally.
No, but I think he completely trusted her.
And he managed to survive past yet another player.
Oh, that's got to really stick in her craw that Bruce made it longer than she did, don't you think?
I don't know if Kelly worries too much about that kind of stuff. Not the way
Okay.
Katurah would. If you're talking about Katurah, then yeah, that's going to absolutely be a
Yes.
thing. And I'm actually kind of pulling for him to outlast her.
You are ornery that way. Okay, next on, Emily says if Dee's in the final three, she wins.
And Emily's talking to Austin at
Austin.
that point. And then Austin tells us, I can't vote for Dee. I like talking to her.
There's no way he can blindside her. He loves hanging out with her. He loves talking to her, which kind of furthers that idea of
Thing Brandon was talking about.
Yeah, maybe they are,
Showmance.
if not in a showmance, attracted to each other and maybe headed toward
Mm-hmm.
a romance at some point. So
I'm really looking for Dee to take him out. He's sitting on two idols. That would just be the most perfect thing.
but does she know that?
Because she's very pragmatic. She's like, I'm here doing this for me and my family.
Family first, men second.
So we see him at a challenge, and there's 3 groups of 3. We see Drew, Jake, and Dee.
And we see the immunity necklace. So
A
it's an
single immunity necklace, yeah.
Which
so
doesn't
Drew,
make
Jake,
sense.
and Dee basically near the blue mat. We see Kendra, Bruce, and Julie near the yellow mat, and then Austin,
Katurah and Emily.
and the red mat. And then Probe says all 3 will lose their vote. So it's confusing because it looks like an individual immunity challenge because there's a single necklace there. But they're divided up into teams of 3, and he says all 3 will lose their vote. So not quite sure what's happening with
we
that.
started trying to figure out ways that one person could win. And it's like, well, if they had like sections of challenge and the 9 do the first section and whoever comes in last, they're the 3 that lose their vote and they're out. And then maybe the next 6 end up either doing another section and possibly that one's, then those 3 are out. And then the final 3 doing a one-on-one or something.
Yeah, not sure what's happening with that. Emily said it looks like she says in that confessional when she heard that her mind went blank. Or black. I forget what it was she said. But yeah.
Yeah, I think she said black.
Yeah. She probably meant blank.
Yeah.
Because she does that. She mixes those words quite often.
Who doesn't? I do that all the time. But I say one thing and when I mean something else.
All right, how about a JSFL update?
I can do that.
Straightforward one this week, huh?
Yep, Hatter is in first with 43 points.
So one person.
One person. And with 56 people, including you and I, lost our USB. 118 people lost a safe point. 12 people earned a vote-off point.
I'm not surprised it's a
For
low
Kelly.
number. That was a bit of a surprise.
In the side challenge, Rebecca's in first with 39. With 38, you have Jeremiah and Randy. 36, Robert. 34, Lisa Ray and Stacy. And 32, Drew, Justin, and Parker.
Ah, a new addition to the basement. Well, thanks, guys.
Well,
Holding
you're
it down.
right there with them almost.
No, I'm two above that. That's not
but
even remotely
you're
the
on
same.
my sheet of paper right here. You're just right above them.
Yep, they could all change.
Just barely.
A moment's notice for sure. Good stuff. Hey, I wanted to mention some quick Survivor news, flashing forward a little bit in the spirit of the editors this season. Season 46, it was announced, is going to start on February 28th, and the first 2 episodes will be 2 hours long, and then each episode after that will be 90 minutes.
All right.
So it sounds like they've worked out that problem. You know, they started with just 90 minutes where we had a 2-hour first episode the previous few seasons. So now they're going to get that course corrected and have the second episode be 2 hours. So you get a lot of content there.
I guess they're trying to pacify us.
And it's a bit of an early start on, granted, it's the last day in February, but they've been starting in March before, so it's like a week early.
They used to start in mid-February.
They have at times, yep. They've always been flexible, I guess, to try to make the schedule work.
That works better for me, I think. We'll
Be
see.
a short winter break before the next one, but that was great to hear that they're going to stick with the 90-minute episodes, and we're going to get 4 hours out of the first 2 episodes. Good stuff.
That'll help us get to know people.
There was another thing. Probe said that quitters, he's not going to snuff their torch anymore. They won't get that. There'll at least be some minor consequence for quitting. Although when you have an engineered quit, that's going to be a little tricky to determine.
Yeah, I don't know how you can do that because if the people agree to vote them out, I'd be like, no.
Right.
If you want out, quit.
Yeah.
And if we lose 2, we lose 2 if you don't quit beforehand. But
well, it's something you don't normally think you'd
out,
have to deal with. So when it happens, nobody has a plan for how to respond. Of course, that'll change after 2.
And they don't know how the other people will react or feel if they speak up and say, no, I'm not doing that just because you want it.
Well, we've done the recap, and now we would love to get your thoughts on this episode. We'd like to have you join us for that listener feedback show that we put together on Saturdays. You can call the voicemail line 206-350-1547, toll free 844-643-8737, or you can record your own audio and attach it to an email, or just type it up and send it to us an email, and we'll read it into the show on your behalf. The email is joanneandstacyshow@gmail.com. Feedback's due noon Pacific time on Saturdays, and we ask that you keep it however you deliver it in that 3-minute range. And basic questions, some starter questions. How did your assessment of the castaways change after this week's gameplay? How long do you think Bruce can make it? Who impressed you the most? Who do you think's playing the best? And who's in jeopardy being voted out next? Did Jake dodge a bullet and now he's going to be free and clear? All right, things to ponder. Anything else?
I almost answered you on one of those.
Yeah?
I caught myself.
How about that? I think that's a first. All right, have a good one.